All right, this is it. Are you guys ready? Hey kids, glad we're all together. We've all been on a bike ride despite the lousy weather. We'll down a couple of pints today, so gather round. You're gonna hear amazing stories and we'll give stuff out. Say, Charlie and Johnny, have you seen them yet? Whoa, but they're bike devout. Tales from the trails. We'll hear the weird and the wonderful. And Benny, he's a really keen, whether lycra shorts or cut off jeans or having a bell that rings. Tales from the trails. Hey kids, we're the usual suspects from the Skokie Bike Net. I am David and I'm your MC. You'll find some friends, it's a joy to be among. So silence your cell phones and please don't talk. We'll hear some tales after this song. Say, time for you people to take your seats. Whoa, we are bike devout. Tales from the trails. Raffle donors are wonderful. And that sketchbook, let's set the scene. Whether lycra shorts or cut off jeans or having a bell that dings. Tales from the trails. We'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll say oh my. All right kids, now let's start this thing. We're gonna hear about bikes, that's what we like. So now clap your hands and even sing. Tales from the trails. Benny, hey Ben, Johnny, Charlie, Davey. All right, enough of that nonsense. Welcome everybody to Tales from the Trails. Look at this room. How many of you rode here today? You guys rock. How many of you are attending your first storytelling show? Welcome, noobs. And so here's the deal. We are going to hear true stories about people and their relationship to their bicycle or ways bicycles have been in their life. Before we get going, I want to thank Sketchbook and Amy, and I want to try that lemon rattler, which we will get to. I want to thank Chris Burke Engineering for these cool snap bracelets, which everybody has. I want to thank Soul Good Coffee for having delicious coffee and keeping me wired. Thank you, and thank you for your donation. Thank you, Charlie Huth, for designing our logo, which is on these cool tees, which you can buy from Beth and Eric right now or after the show. I want to thank Michael Sullivan, who's working on the video. I want to thank Jen Fisher Books, who's here selling cool bike-related items. I want to thank Rebecca Annis and Switchback Gear Collective. They are trying to increase access to the outdoors to people and are accepting donations. If you talk to Benny, he will tell you how to do that. I want to thank Ellen Barish, who's been the de facto fifth usual suspect, helping us with curation, with reading submissions, and welcoming everybody. I want to thank Beth Negranita and Eric Sachs for selling t-shirts and modeling them for $20. It's a big nothing. I want to thank all of you for being here, for supporting our storytellers, for showing your neighbors how to safely ride a bike. I'm not going to read the bios of our tellers. I want you to read them on the programs because I want you to hear the stories. And speaking of hearing the stories, I didn't just sing about it, I really meant it. Yep, I'm on silence and so should you be. And speaking of silence, if you're going to carry on a conversation, please take it behind the bar or even outside. I do encourage conversation using your inside voice at the bar to perhaps order one of Sketchbook's delightful beverages. After the last story, we will hear from our Minister of Happiness, Ben Harris. Ben is going to talk to us about a few things, and he's also going to be reading off the raffle for some cool items we have. We have some bike-related items, we have some art, we have some Soul Good coffee. And before we do that, I would like to introduce our fearless leader, Charlie Sachs. And Charlie is going to talk to you a little bit about Skokie Bike Network, and he's going to introduce our first storyteller.
Thank you, David. Unlike David, I do not play harmonica or have a bluesy voice to start off, but I'm going to do the best that I can here. Good morning. My name is Charlie Sachs, and on behalf of the leadership and members of the Skokie Bike Network, we are privileged to bring you our third annual Tales from the Trails event. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to the success of this event, including you who showed up to join the fun. Welcome. We're glad you're here. The Skokie Bike Network is a community of cyclists whose mission is to support and promote cycling with the simple premise of better biking for better living. Our Tales from the Trails event is an opportunity for us to build our community by sharing stories of our experiences while riding a bicycle. When we began soliciting stories for this year's event, we wrestled with identifying a theme for the event. Ultimately, we did not come up with one, which was good, because the stories as they came in, it was clear that they reflected a broad spectrum of personal experience that touched the lives of our storytellers. As we reviewed the submissions, what became clear is that everybody's story is important. In these times of personal alienation, deliberate dehumanization, and pervasive dissociation from community, it is especially important for us to not only tell and listen to our stories, but to share our lives through our stories. So as you listen to our storytellers today, when you are touched, humored, or moved, take those moments to allow yourself to live the story. And to start us off, Tracy Fowler with He'd Rather Run. Tracy?
Hey, Mom! I'm going over to Michael's! I peek out the front window, and sure enough, there's my son Ian. His friend Michael is in front of him, riding his bike down the sidewalk. And my son, my 10-year-old son, all arms and legs, is running behind him. No matter what I do, I cannot get that boy on the back of a bike. And I know it actually is my fault. I start Ian off right when he's really little. He's just a toddler. I put him on one of those plastic tricycles. You know, the ones that sound like a barrel of gravel going down the sidewalk. And he loves it, and he rides it back and forth, and he's happy. And he grows, and then I see in Sam's Club this tricycle. It's red, and it's big, and it has these poochy pneumatic tires, kind of like a tricycle fat bike. And I get it for him. And he loves it. He is riding like the wind, a flash of red up and down the sidewalk, little Spider-Man light-up shoes all flashing. And he rides this bike for a couple of years, and he thinks it's great. And then he turns 6, and he goes into school, and I'm like, okay, it's time. It is time for the big boy bike. It's time for that two-wheeler. It's time where I'm going to get my riding buddy. And I have been waiting for this. So we go over to Toys R Us. Yeah, it was still there. And he looks and he picks out this beautiful blue bicycle with red training wheels. And I take him onto the sidewalk, and he's riding it, and he's kind of getting the idea of balance, and he's learning how to do that back pedal thing, because it's one of those kind of bikes. And we go up and down on that sidewalk, and up and down, and I'm starting to get bored and I want to go ride. So I take him onto the little bike trail that's in my neighborhood. And this time I've got my bike and I'm with him. And we're riding up and down the little bike trail and it's only a half mile long. I'm like I got plans. Like I know what I want to do. I want to be able to take in and go up on, I don't know, the Sparta Trail, to go through all of those cool tunnels, to be able to stop at those cool little neighborhood and tiny communities and have ice cream and, maybe go camping. Wouldn't that be fun? But first things first, I've got to get him going. I've got to get him on a real trail. So I decide the first trail we're going to do is the Des Plaines River Trail. And we live pretty close to one of the landing access points. So I put his little bike on the back of the car, put my bike on, and I take him over to, that corner of Milwaukee and 60. They've got that nice parking lot in the woods, and then there's just that little asphalt path that goes down and under the viaduct. And then you're on the Des Plaines River Trail. And I'm thinking, give this a little bit of time. We could go all the way to Kenosha. We could go to the Brat Stop. But first things first, got to do that first day out on the trail. So I unload our bikes and we both clip on our helmets, and I'm thinking, I should probably have him go first so that I can tell him which direction we're going to be going on the trail, and that way it'll let him set the speed we're going to go at. So he starts heading towards the little path, and I'm like, okay, honey, just follow that down the hill and we'll get on the trail. And he's pedaling and he gets on that hill. And that hill's a lot bigger than I remember that hill being, and he starts to pick up speed, and he's going faster. And that boy is turning into a little kid in a Batman shirt, acting much like a rocket shooting down that hill. And he is doing a battle with gravity, and I can see he's losing it. Like, his bike is rocking back and forth on the training wheels, and he's going faster, and he's going faster, and I'm calling from behind him, use your brake! Back pedal! And I don't know if he just doesn't understand or if he can't hear me, but he continues picking up speed, and then I watch it. That bike starts to tilt to the left, and he's reaching his hands out, and his legs are tangling up in the frame. And then he does it. He hits that asphalt hands first, and he is sliding. And I am next to him in a second and dumping my bike in the grass, and I run over to him. And of course he is hurt. Hands scraped, knees scraped, big gouge in his palm. And of course he is crying and looking to me for help. And of course, I don't have anything with me. It never occurred to me that something could go wrong. I did not think about that hill. All I was thinking about was I wanted to go have fun with my kid on this trail. So I help him limping back to the car, and I am giving him Starbucks napkins to put on his hands and on his knees. And I run back and I get those two bikes. And I get home and I hang his blue bike up on the garage wall. And it grows dusty. And he grows and outgrows it, and I sell it. 11 years go by. And periodically, I ask him, don't you want to try and ride a bike? It would be fun. I've given up that dream of he and I being bike buddies. Clearly that is not happening. But I feel like I've taken something away from him. And every time I ask him, don't you want to try again? I even get him once to go out on my bike. And it didn't go well. And all he'll tell me, Mom, I'm good. I'd rather run. It's fine. I don't need to ride a bike. And as he gets into high school and approaches 17, and we're starting to look at colleges, and he likes big universities, of course. And I'm thinking of my college experience where, I rode my bike to and from class and to and from the grocery store and to and from the bars. I've taken transportation away from him too. So I talked to him one more time because online I found a local bike club that offers adult riding classes. And he said, Ian, would you please try just one more time to ride a bike? I'll pay for the classes. This is totally on me, but you might like it to be able to take a bike to college. So he agrees. And we drive down to Elk Grove Village, and big parking lot, and the instructor Chris meets us there with a loaner bike. And I stand in the grass and I watch, and this time it's Chris who's running behind my son. He's got his hand on the seat of his bike, and he's showing Ian things about balance and talking to him about what to do with his feet and explaining to him what to do with his hands. And within 20 minutes, my son is riding a bike. He is riding around this parking lot. And I am looking at his face, and he is smiling. And it is a warrior smile. He's doing battle again, but this time he is winning. And I am so happy for him. 2 days later, I do take him to another bike store. I buy him a bike. It is really big. He's 6'2". And we go back to that Des Plaines River Trail. This time, he and I both walk our bikes down the path under the viaduct. And we go out and we ride together. And he is riding way in front of me, and he's calling back, "You are old and slow." And then all of a sudden, he's back behind me again because he is distracted. And that is my son. Turns out, hobbies are not hereditary. As he was growing, we did start exploring different interests to see what we both liked. Turns out he will do long walks with me in the woods, and he's just as good as I am identifying bird calls. And just yesterday, he took me to G-Fest. 6,000 people all geeking out on Godzilla. We had a blast. I know now that as long as we are doing things together and having fun, that's enough. Thank you.
Tracy, thank you for that beautiful story of going from PTSD to now you can go day drinking, and because you can ride with him to the Broad Stop now. He's even old enough to do that. Our next storyteller is Andrew Hoffman, who's going to tell us about being traumatized by a chipmunk.
Hello. So first, a little about me. I'm a big animal lover, nature lover, and I try to be a nice guy. My mom used to call me Andy Nice. That was my nickname. As a biker, I consider myself somewhere between a casual biker and an avid biker. I like to tell myself that I'm non-competitive, that like playing board games, biking is just for fun and exercise. That doesn't matter how fast I'm going, it doesn't matter who wins. But somehow, when I get on my bike, a little part of my brain starts getting competitive. I could be going along feeling really good about my bike and thinking, oh, look at me, Mr. Cool Athlete, as I'm biking and pace. But when I hear somebody say, on your left, even though I smile and say, thank you, inside I'm saying curses and drat. Only more in adult, colorful language. Sometimes I even start thinking, maybe I'll just speed up a little and try to repass that person. Hopefully they don't know that they just passed me. You know, it's that competitive part of me that I don't like, but is there. So all of this is going on through my mind as the offending and unsuspecting biker pedals away, not realizing that he just ruined my bike ride by passing me. I'm also somebody, as I said, who loves and values the natural world. I'm a big animal lover, and I try to avoid harming any animals. If there's a spider in our house, I will squeamishly put it outside if it's warm, or I'll bring it down to the basement if it's cold. So I wanted to hopefully lead a full and meaningful, creepy life. As a biker who cares about nature's creatures, I'm constantly on the lookout for any animals crossing the path. I don't want to run over anything, particularly chipmunks, squirrels, birds, but even insects. I get pretty anxious about that. But if it's an insect, I at least could tell myself, well, maybe I didn't run over it. Maybe it's safe and continually walking on its path to have its blissful life. If it's an animal, a bigger animal, that doesn't happen. I even feel tremendous guilt if I step on or bike over an ant. It just. So basically, I'm an unintentionally competitive, non-harming, animal-loving bicyclist. The episode I'm talking about today began as a normal bike ride, nothing out of the ordinary. I was on the North Branch Trail, happily going along, feeling kind of cool, Mr. Cool Biker person, going about my speed, when suddenly about 8 feet away, I see a chipmunk on the right side, heading toward the path. I'm thinking, I can't brake fast enough, so my brain is going, stop, 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 no, 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 don't do it. I even gave a panic call to the chipmunk saying, stay. It's like it was an obedient dog, like stay, stay, heel, whatever. But just as I'm getting there, the chipmunk, not listening to my forceful canine command, keeps running. It's right under my tires, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's toast. I'm thinking my life is going to be traumatized forever. I'm thinking my biking career is over. I don't even have a biking career, but that's what my mind was saying at that moment of panic. But in a split second, somehow, the chipmunk acrobatically jumped up and landed on my right knee. I'm thinking, we're both probably freaked out. I'm thinking, he's probably thinking, oh God, that was close. Good thing I stretched this morning. But he might be thinking, ooh, piece of cake, happens all the time. Nope, no problem. I don't know what chipmunks think, so I can't really say. But in that split second before I, going my fast pace, bring my rapidly moving knee down, the chipmunk then decides to jump on my shoulder. So I'm riding, and I see from my periphery a little brown furry joyrider perched on my shoulder. I like to think back that maybe he was enjoying that ride. Maybe like a dog with his head out the window of a car, his little twitchy face and his ears and his tail wagging, his paws up, maybe his tongue sticking out by his buck teeth, just having a nice time. But in that moment I was panicked, so I don't know if he was experiencing joy or terror. Don't know. After a few minutes, however, or a few seconds, the chipmunk jumps off very smoothly and acrobatically and starts riding alongside me. And after a few seconds after that, it actually speeds up and outpaces me before heading off to the right. This all occurred in a few seconds, so a part of my brain was like, did this really happen? But there was another rider riding on the opposite way, staring at me wide-eyed, saying, oh my God, as he biked by. So I had some confirmation that this really happened. In the end, thankfully, the chipmunk was not hurt and I was not psychologically damaged. I would like to think that maybe in his old age, he can tell his chipmunk family about what happened to him. I picture him with multi-generations of chipmunks sitting around a little campfire, toasting marshmallows with toothpicks, and him telling this story. Their rapt attention, eyes open on him. Him talking in his high-pitched 78 RPM speed grandpa voice about his harrowing adventure. A few of the younger chipmunks probably saying, yeah, right, Gramps, not believing him, but the rest of them just really in awe. Although I was a bit traumatized, I was glad it ended okay for both of us. However, that I was outpaced by a chipmunk kind of deflated my ego a bit. Actually, it deflated it a lot. I was passed by a chipmunk. You know, that's not great for the ego. After that incident, I had become even more concerned about hitting animals, though. So if you're on the North Branch and you hear a person saying, look out, chipmunk, as he's biking, it's probably going to be me. Just please try not to pass me. So.
On your left. Thank you, Andrew. Our next storyteller is our own John Babin, who's going to talk to us about his haircut, or is he?
Thanks, David. This is a story about a haircut this year. On Saturday, March 1st, I eagerly hopped on my bike for the first time this year. COVID, a sinus infection, dermatology surgery, I don't know if anybody's had that before, but ambushed by no physical activity for a month from what I naively thought would be zap a mole on my back and good to go, ha ha. And bad weather kept me off the bike between New Year's and the end of February, so that's 2 months. And I do ride year round, so that was not good. March 1st arrived. Finally, a sunny, crisp, 30-degree day. To me, that's a good riding day. No more COVID, sinus infection. Healed up from the mole removal. Ice and snow gone. Beautiful. A bit windy, but I was really looking forward to this 5-mile round trip to get my hair cut in Wilmette, which I normally ride to get every 3 weeks or so. My ritual, if I can't ride, no haircut. So after 2 months without a haircut, I was on my way to my 13-year-old hippie long hair self, which I'm getting there again. I have to go back. This was not good. The first 2 blocks of the ride, they were fantastic. You know that old TV ad with that song, Anticipation? That was me. Ecstatic for being on the bike, going anywhere. After those 2 blocks, I felt soreness creeping up in my lower left abdomen. But what was concerning was the intense heat that I felt building in that spot, right where my hernia that I've had since I was 10 years old is. And my intestines, sorry, I have to explain, a hernia is a hole where the intestines protrude. Sounds bad, but normally it's not. You just push them back in if the hernia isn't bad. We're protruding a lot. They were protruding a lot. Okay, a concerning amount. Like I've never experienced, and I've discovered I couldn't push them in while riding. And when I say intense heat, it was really hot to the touch through my jeans. This was alarming. Do bodies do this? For me to be alarmed, let's just say, and people that I'm related to know this, when I lost half my blood and ended up in the ICU twice, I was concerned, not quite alarmed. As my wife, Jan, will tell you, I'm like a lot of guys. I avoid acknowledging any kind of medical problem. Like losing the blood thing. A story for another time. On my bike, with the pain, the increasing heat, and body parts that should be inside of my body protruding, my thought was that, yeah, I should keep riding to the haircut. Well, there wasn't much thinking. I was on the bike, still pedaling on a beautiful day, so continuing made sense. Since I passed Skokie Hospital both ways, if it got really bad, I knew from reading severe pain was DEFCON 5, go to hospital, don't pass go. I would just stop into immediate care, maybe the ER. I soldiered on. The heat in my abdomen dissipated, which was either really good or really bad. I hadn't read that far in the hernia user's manual. The soreness had not dissipated, but I hadn't reached DEFCON 5, riding really slowly. I mean, like 5 miles an hour or something. I mean, it was slow. I reached the barber. Larry the barber and I don't talk much. Just a cursory, how's the fam? Usually it's, doing good, John. Doing good, how's yours? He looked really tired and pale that day, and we hadn't had that exchange yet. As I was about to leave the shop, I asked Larry, how's the fam? He had some terrible news about his family. His wife had stage 4 cancer, undetected until now. Nothing I could say, but I was sorry to hear that. Distracted me from my soreness. Riding home, I thought about what he told me, and my friend John, who I knew since 3rd grade, who died in 2023, on his training ride in Glencoe. You might have heard about that. He had picked up bike racing, which he hadn't done since high school, when he looked down for a second at his bike computer as he rode around a curve and slammed into an Amazon truck parked in, what big surprise, the bike lane. How lucky I was to be riding on a beautiful day. How unfair it seems that Larry's wife and my friend John got the bad hands dealt to them, and how my problems seem small in comparison. How my hernia operation was coming up in April, and soon after I would be back on my bike commuting 30 miles a day. Thinking of how many rides I have left, as I slowly passed the hospital, I wondered if I should just drop in. But even though I was in pain, riding slowly with protruding body parts, stopping at the hospital would ruin a perfectly good ride. I will say that postscript, on April 9th, I had the hernia surgery, which was successful. Since then, I've been back to riding, including my 30-mile round-trip commute. Thank you. Thank you.
John, thank you, and the hair looks great. Speaking of two sides of a story, Sherry alluded to the fact that there's another story called Training Wheels, and there indeed is. And now we're going to hear Ann Beal's perspective.
And this is my story about training wheels. When I was little, I had a bike with training wheels, the kind that keeps you upright when you're not quite ready to balance on your own. My father used to take me out riding around our block. It was a quiet, circular street with hardly any traffic. I loved pedaling fast, the wind in my face, but what I loved most were those training wheels. They made me feel safe. Certain I wouldn't fall, I was sure I would never ride without them. I still use them to this day. No. After many weeks, my father said, "Annie, I think it's time to take off those training wheels." I was not so sure. "Oh, Daddy, I don't know." "I think you're ready," he said calmly. Now, my father was a college professor. He was not the kind of dad who wrestled with kids in the yard or played make-believe, but he was patient. He had this quiet way of believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. So the big day came. He brought out his tools and unscrewed the training wheels. I stared at my bike. My hands were sweating and my stomach felt tight. There was no way I could do this. This was the 1970s, no helmets, no knee pads. If I crashed, it was me against the pavement. I shook my head. "Come on, Annie," he said, "just try." I climbed on and he held me steady from behind. I pedaled slowly, concentrating on balancing. I could feel his hand firm on the seat, holding the bike steady. I began pedaling and he ran along behind me. "You can do this," he said. As long as he was there, I was okay, and I gathered speed. And then I looked back. He wasn't there. He had let go without telling me, and I was riding on my own. I made a wide, wobbly circle and rode back, shouting, "I did it! I did it! When did you let go?" He smiled. "Pretty much right away." From that day on, I loved riding. I tore around the block with my friends on that circular street where the kids played. But it wasn't just about the bike. What he taught me that day stayed with me, that I could be scared and still move forward, that someone could believe in me until I was ready to believe in myself, that sometimes the people who love us most give us the feeling that they're still behind us, even after they've let go. And he did that for me again and again. When I left for college at the University of Delaware, 6 hours from our home in Worcester, Massachusetts, my dad drove me down. Along the way, we talked about school and friends and family and listened to his favorite classical music. And when we arrived, he helped me move into the cold institutional dorm furnished with beat-up wooden desks, metal-framed beds, and shiny linoleum floors. I'd forgotten to pack hangers, so we went out and bought some cheap plastic ones. He did not stay to help me unpack, like the moms I saw in the hallway. He handed me the hangers, stood in the doorway and said, "I loved college. It was one of the best times of my life. I really hope you like it here. I think you will. I know you will." And then he was gone. No lingering, no dramatics. His hand wasn't on the back of my bike anymore, but once again, he had brought me to the edge and pointed me forward. And I did love college. I made lifelong friends, I did well academically, and he was proud when I got a fellowship to graduate school. Then came more moments, more milestones where I had to ride forward without training wheels. When I got married, he walked me down the aisle. I think he knew I was too young, that it wasn't the right match. But there he was, hauling heavy boxes up 3 flights of stairs to my first apartment with my new husband. That night, my husband made dinner for everyone. Pasta, a little too much garlic, way too much salt. My dad took a bite and said, smiling, "Wow, this is gourmet." It wasn't. Years later, when the marriage was falling apart, I called him. "Dad," I said in a voice low and full of shame, "I'm not happy. Actually, I'm miserable. This isn't working." There was a long pause, and then in that gentle way of his, he said, "I kind of figured it didn't seem like the right fit, but I'm here, whatever you need." And just like that, I felt steadier again, like I was wobbling on the bike, but he'd reached out, not to grab the seat, but to remind me I could still ride. We talked more, he just listened, supported me, held me up in that quiet way. Later, when I got a job offer in Chicago, a dream job at the Boston Consulting Group, I called him. He had grown up in Wisconsin and he knew the Midwest. "I don't know, Dad. It's kind of far and Chicago's really cold." He laughed. "Chicago's amazing. You'll love it. Just dress for the winter, okay? You know, people from the East Coast, they don't know how to dress for the winter. Get a big coat." When I went to pick out my apartment in Streeterville, he came with me. We stayed in a fancy hotel paid for by my new employer, and when he saw the place I chose, he was thrilled. And I bought the big down coat. I loved Chicago. No husband, far from home, but still, I felt my father behind me, steadying me without really holding me. A few years later, I started my business, another big leap. And around that time, my father was diagnosed with lung cancer, even though he had never smoked. He never saw my business take off. He died not long afterward. And for the first time, I had to keep going in a world without him. No one was holding my bike from behind and no voice saying, "You can do it." For a while, everything felt shaky again, like that first ride. But the lesson stayed, the knowledge that even when he let go, I could keep riding. And I have. What he taught me is something I've come to see everywhere, because life is full of people who hold the seat for us. Sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's a friend, someone who believes in us just long enough for us to believe in ourselves. We take turns steadying the bike. We run behind someone we love, and then when the moment is right, we let go, because we know they're ready. And if we've done our job right, they'll never forget the feeling of that steady hand, even when it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. We've heard a number of stories where family members are important parts of our lives and important parts of our story about our relationships with that vehicle that has two wheels. But sometimes those relationships aren't family relationships. Sometimes they're relationships with our friends. I know my friends, the Kibitzers, who are wearing their jerseys, our friends who are lifelong friends who ride together and know each other more than we really ought to know about each other. Ralph Benasiak is here to tell a story about his friend.
Well, as Dave said, biking can lead to adventures, and adventures lead to relationships. The two of us had heard the siren, faintly at first, but before long, the volume had swelled, quickly reaching the screaming decibels of a hospital district ambulance. Both our faces registered surprise. We were nowhere near a county road, nor an interstate, and far removed from the nearest town, much less any hospital district. After all, that had been the plan for our biking adventure, a biking retreat. That was our idea, a peaceful getaway from life's hustle bustle, a trip on the Great Allegheny Passage from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland. 5 days on the Gap was just one more adventure for the two of us. The two of us fifth grade buddies over the last 60 plus years. At that moment, though, peaceful it was not. The piercing siren shattered the ride's tranquility. Think about autumn leaves drifting quietly from a forested cathedral ceiling. Think about a river murmuring softly far below. But as the vehicles came barreling up, we had two choices: saplings and brush on the right, a steep embankment on the left. Actually, there was just one choice. The river murmuring below suddenly sounded very treacherous. No time for debate. Both our faces again registered the same thing. We're going for the foliage. First, the sheriff's car rushed right past us. We sucked in our breaths. We leaned awkwardly to starboard. We tried to shrink ourselves, or tried to, as much as two seniors with good-sized love handles can shrink. The patrol car flew by, stirring up a leafy cyclone. For a few exciting seconds, the two of us intently studied some intricate leaf structures. Finally, our nylon jackets stopped flip, flap, flip, flap, flip, flip, flap, 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 flap. Looking up, both our faces registered, you guessed it, foliage, and lots of it. Within minutes, the ambulance zoomed by. The wider, heavier truck was a distinctive experience, let's just say. We inhaled, not just studied, the foliage this time. The truck's mirror brushed dangerously close at helmet level. We've all seen that familiar mirror engraving. Objects may be closer than they appear. Indeed, we certainly were. Half-mile up the trail, the emergency became clear. A solo male cyclist headed downhill had lost control, crashed, and injured his shoulder. In pain, incoherent, and unable to continue, he needed professional attention. Fortunately, 4 riders from Detroit had come up upon him. Only one, however, had been able to coax any cell service out of that remote wilderness. The Good Samaritans had done their job. Likewise, the first responders. My buddy Bob and I had performed well too, scampering out of the way like responsible chipmunks. It was just day 2 of our biking getaway that October. We didn't know it at the time, but that little trail drama would shape our thinking 2 days later as we dealt with a misfortune much closer to home. The fourth morning arrived oddly. Normally awake by 5, Bob was still in bed as my 6:30 alarm threatened to ring. Something was up. And as I just mentioned, it wasn't Bob. His alarm had already sounded, but it wasn't his normal wake-up call. He wasn't already puttering around the room just waiting for me to get up. His truly was a wake-up call, unexpectedly a medical one. Bob was in AFib. Atrial fibrillation, or AFib, is a cardiac condition, an abnormal heart rhythm. The heart beats rapidly and irregularly. Bob was familiar with it, having dealt with a couple episodes before. He wasn't too distressed, but that morning he was much quieter than usual. Prior to our trip, he had mentioned it. It's infrequent, comes and goes, and generally rest and electrolytes will clear things up. In prepping for our trip, the possibility of AFib had not occurred to either of us. Flat tires, muddy uphills, rainy weather, fatigue, of course, those had all been on our trip's mental checklist. AFib, we had overlooked. Optimistically, maybe? Senior moment. The night before, we had imagined cycling a final short incline to the Gap's high point and a couple scenic tunnels. We imagined finally coasting the 20-mile downhill to our hotel. After 3 days, we had imagined and looked forward to payback time. AFib, however, imagined otherwise. Bob mixed his Gatorade, drank it down, and then waited for breakfast. Unlike other mornings on that trip, we downshifted. We lingered over our coffee. We lingered over conversation at the table. We didn't hurry to load our bikes or lay down some real quick miles. A normal heartbeat cannot be rushed. His cardio doc had answered Bob on the very first ring with predictable advice that morning. Patience, Bob. So we parked ourselves quietly in the bed and breakfast parlor, extending our stay. God bless that owner for his understanding. We could still picture ourselves saddling up that day, entertaining a fantasy that was never going to happen. However, the trail drama from 2 days earlier kept streaming itself on an endless loop on both of our mental screens. Bright, bold subtitles reminded us of the lessons we should have learned 2 days ago. Remote towns? Yep. Poor cell service? Check. Dubious ambulance access? For sure. So we killed time in that parlor. 1 hour, then 2 hours. We avoided any decision. Bob's heart rate was slowly dropping, but not quite back to normal. By the third hour on the sofa, our welcome was wearing thin. With noon approaching, we just reviewed those subtitles one more time. We finally decided, even if all AFib symptoms had disappeared, to nix any bike riding that day. We faced 2 shuttle choices: back to Pittsburgh and cut the trip short, or on to Cumberland and hope for the best. We bet on the Cumberland shuttle and the chance of riding at least one more day. Our wager paid off. By that afternoon, my buddy Bob had recovered. Next day, good to go, we flipped the script. We pedaled up from Cumberland toward the tunnels and the high point. But not pushing our luck, we stopped for lunch less than halfway up. We raised a glass to overcoming another challenge as biking buddies and cruised the 20-mile downhill. Misfortune behind us. Thank you.
Ralph, thank you for teaching us how to ride sensibly. John, take note. Those of you who've been listening today and saying to yourself, God, this is really cool. I've got a bike story. I've got 10 of them. Well, we want you to submit to us for next year's show. Don't do it now, but keep that in mind. If you're on our mailing list, we'll let you know when we're open for submissions for 2026. You can start thinking about your story now, and you can start thinking about it and crafting it the way our amazing storytellers have crafted theirs. And next year, you can be up here telling your story. In the meantime, Catherine and Sarah is here to tell us this is my bike story, which is, of course, is her bike story, not mine. I don't want to get confusing. Catherine?
I'm glad to see Ralph was using notes and everything, because I read the directions and it said I could print it out and big font and double line, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. So I'm part of Go Green Park Ridge, and yay! Which is where I met Ben, not Charlie, but Ben. And on the heels of this announcement, in April, Ben said, we're doing a storytelling gig, and so we want stories. And I thought, I would like to do that. Oh, no, I don't have a bike. I can't do it. And then I went home and I said, yes, I can. I used to have a bike. So I dictated my story to my email, and then I made it into a document, and then I played with it, and I manifested this, as younger generations will say, manifest, manifest. And I was like, go, Catherine. And then I got the announcement that I was selected. And I thought, of course, everybody here is famous and really, really awesome storytellers, and here I am going to do this. And yet, wow, look at how cool it is to come together with all these stories. There are so many connections. I am just thrilled to share my bike story with you. Ham and cheese omelets. 2 eggs over easy, short stack with extra butter, short stack no butter, coffee no cream honey, dry rye. Honey, I asked for potatoes. My to-go coffee cup at the end of a shift was heavy, really heavy, with quarters, nickels, dimes, and the occasional few dollar bills. Because I was a waitress at Mac's Restaurant in Park Ridge, at Higgins and Cumberland, and I was only 15 and a half years old in 1975 because I got a work permit. I wanted to make some money, and yes, I got my first bike at 15 and a half with my first tips. And it was a 26-inch frame. Hello, I'm 6 feet. It was blue and silver. So ham and cheese omelet, you bet, coming right up. I figured I wouldn't be able to be driving the family car when I got my license the next year because I had 2 older sisters. And I'm not even sure there was a family car for us to drive. So I figured I'd get the bike. I felt so confident and competent with these beautiful wheels on this 26-inch frame. I was making a statement. I had so much fun with this bike. It took me around town. It took me to Maine South High School in minutes, and it was 1.5 miles away. The blue silver Schwinn took me to hang with my girlfriends, and it took me to Mac's Restaurant every Saturday and Sunday because I kept making tips and serving all that food. Really good, by the way, and it's still there. I remember feeling so cool and independent just getting on that bike, pedaling away into my life. Riding my bike helped me begin to envision myself as a young adult with purpose and freedom. So from high school to Illinois State University, my silver and blue was at my side. We traveled well together. We developed a rhythm and a balance. We rode through the winding country roads, swallowed up by those cornfields of Normal Bloomington on sunny days, and we even got lost. It got me to Monocle's Pizza, way out there on the Beltline. I can't even believe I rode that bike as far as I did. But yes, I was waitressing again, making the money. Coming off of a long shift of serving that, I don't know if anybody's ever had it, this crispy, thin crust pizza, and they would serve it with a huge bowl of salad. I would be really hot and really sweaty, and I would get on my bike, and we would find our way home, and I could generate just enough energy to make that little light on the front and the little light on the back pedal get me home. I guess I was really young and I didn't have a care in the world, but that light generated enough light to get me home. Only once that I can recall did I fall. I lost my balance. Riding north on Route 51, I think I must have been living in Bloomington, I was heading towards Normal, downtown Normal, right in front of Illinois Wesleyan University's campus. I don't know if this car almost hit me or I was a little anxious of riding on such a busy street, but whoa, there I went, down on the curb and the sidewalk, thank God, and I was stunned. What had just happened and what was I going to do? Well, fortunately, it couldn't be sure enough, I wasn't sure. Fortunately, friends who lived in the community, and they were townspeople, and they were part of the Newman Center that I was very actively involved with, Catholic Campus Ministry at the time. They were driving by, and they saw me and my bike, and God love them, they stopped, and they just scooped us into this little sketchy kind of van, and they took me to a doctor, and there was no urgent care, so I don't know how that worked, but there we were, and Bonnie and Bernie stopped at a Steak and Shake on the way home, and they got me a burger and fries and a drink, and then they got me up into my apartment. It was really something. And, I didn't ride the Blue and Schwinn for a little while. I did walk across the stage to accept my bachelor's degree with a broken foot. I do remember that. And my blue and silver Schwinn was waiting patiently for me to get back on the bike. So, of course, I did. I had my bike when I got married. I had my bike when I had my 2 daughters, one of whom did the sketch. That's my headshot. I had it when we rode bikes through the forest preserves in Park Ridge. And I had it when I was becoming unmarried. And it always sat there in the garage. I knew it was there, and I kind of neglected it. I didn't get as many tune-ups. I don't know, it would be too much money, and I didn't know what was going to go into it. But I knew it was there. I saw it every day, so that was reassuring to me. These days, I don't know where it is. Yeah. When I moved out of our second family home to move in with my mom, because my youngest daughter, the artist, had gone to college, my father, D. Bob, I love you, had passed away, and I was no longer married. My beloved blue and silver Schwinn was just one more thing I had to move. So, at that point, we had been together 37 years, the bike and I, but I decided I would put it on the curb. And so, there it went. I believed somebody would pick it up. And somebody would upcycle it, somebody would use its parts, and that brought me a little peace of mind. For now, fondly recalling, yes, the life of my blue and silver Schwinn has brought me great joy. Like, this is the highlight of my summer. I've enjoyed writing my bike story when I thought maybe I didn't have one. And I've realized all these years later, it is a significant metaphor and marker. This story writing exercise reminds me of my friend Bill, Reverend Bill Lenters. Bill is lovingly nicknamed Spiritual Bill. He and I served on a board for child-serving organizations for a few years. And at the age of 83, and he knows I'm sharing this in the story, he is still a chaplain for adults in recovery with Rosecrance Behavioral Health. He writes a reflection every week. But while we were on the board, we often discussed the needs of kids and what they were facing, these issues that they're facing in their lives. And Bill, he would always use this bike metaphor, reminding us how to best envision how to advocate for kids. And we've already heard it several times. So I'm just saying it in my own words and Bill's words. He would say, picture a parent running alongside a child who is learning to ride a bike unassisted. There will be slips and falls until that child gets a feel for the balance. Eventually, the bike rider masters the pedals and the brakes to navigate life's lanes and roads. Spiritual Bill believes a higher power assists us in finding our balance for the ride, and importantly, rides along with us our whole life long. Well, I believe this too. Long live my blue and silver Schwinn, wherever it is. It equipped me to find my balance and navigate the lanes and roads. This is my bike story. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And I know Sherry's just saying to herself, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. We have one more story, but we have two more storytellers. What, you may say? We have a tandem story. You have tandem bikes, you can have tandem stories, and we have Joyce and Dan Litoff here to tell it.
40 years ago, in 1985, I read this simple fitness advice. Buy a bicycle, ride it every day. So I bought a bicycle, and I started riding every day. And I signed up for an organized bike tour, BAMI.
Bike across the magnificent miles of Illinois. BAMI was a rolling party. 1 week, 300 miles, 50 to 70 miles a day from Chicago to Edwardsville near St. Louis. A truck carries the rider's gear to overnight camping, mostly on college football fields. I had done the tour the previous year and loved cycling through the Midwestern landscape. My Nana in Manhattan couldn't understand why I was spending my vacation from medical residency riding my bike. She thought I should work on meeting a nice girl. She thought I should go on a singles cruise with Club Med.
The trip was a fundraiser for the Chicago Lung Association. So I started hitting up my friends and relatives for pledges. I took my bike and my pledge sheet to the family 4th of July picnic. Now, in my family, the barbecue is almost secondary to the card games. The women played penny ante poker in the dining room, and the cigar-smoking men played for higher stakes in the kitchen, nickels and dimes. I bet you'll meet somebody on that trip, my Aunt Ruthie said as she signed her name on my pledge sheet. And then, with 1 week to go, I drove out to Arlington Heights to pick up the tent I was borrowing from some friends. They were airing it out in their backyard. And as he folded up the tent, my friend Jim instructed me how to set it up, but in reverse. Got it.
The ride started at Buckingham Fountain with balloons and fanfare on Sunday, August 4th. Our first day was 55 miles to Joliet. Our first overnight was at a juvenile residential campus affiliated with the Joliet Correctional Facility.
"10 miles outside of the city limits, it started to rain, but I was ready. I pulled out my poncho, and it rained harder. It was a cold rain for August. As we slogged on, my regrets added up faster than the miles. I hadn't trained hard enough. I had packed too much heavy stuff on my bike. I was miserable. My hands hurt, my shoulders hurt, my butt hurt. I was spending my precious week of vacation bicycling. I was bicycling in the rain. I was bicycling to prison in the rain. I arrived drenched and exhausted. I pulled my duffel bag out of the mountain of gear and dragged it to an open spot on the football field in order to set up my tent. And then there I stood with an extra pole and extra string. I couldn't do it. Did I mention it was raining?
So I helped this woman put up her tent. She and I headed to the meal line where we ran into a couple of people I had met the previous year. We all carried our soggy dinner plates into one of the buildings. And after dinner, this woman pulls out a deck of playing cards. What kind of person brings a deck of playing cards on a bike tour? We played Crazy Eights and Go Fish and laughed together and returned to our wet tents slightly less miserable.
When I got up the next morning, this nice guy and his bike were gone. So I got some breakfast, packed up my gear, and got on the road. It started to rain. I vowed I would catch the train when we got to Springfield.
At one of the afternoon rest stops, I met up with the tent woman. Once we started riding together, we realized we pedaled at about the same pace. Let me describe her. She rode a silver Trek 520, a steel frame touring bike with alloy wheels and a triple crank. 700 by 25C tires with Presta valves. Yes, Presta valves. Oh, and she had curly red hair and big brown eyes.
One of the rest stops was at the National Radar Center in Marseilles. The staff showed us the radars and the scopes. He and I both thought that they were cool.
She was a nerd. On our second night in Peru, Illinois, dinner was grilled pork chops and corn on the cob. This was culture shock for a Jewish boy from New Jersey. The corn, not the pork chops. In New Jersey, we eat soggy boiled corn held with little plastic picks. Here in Illinois, piles of freshly harvested corn were lifted out of a giant steaming cauldron with a pitchfork. This Midwestern woman showed me how to peel back the husk and use it as a handle to dip the corn into melted butter. I had never tasted corn so sweet.
Day 3 brought us to Bradley University in Peoria. At some point, it stopped raining. I got my tent up right away, but I couldn't fall asleep because we were sharing the football field with the summer cheerleading camp. All of us exhausted bikers and 300 screaming girls.
On day 4, we rode into Springfield just in time for the opening day parade of the Illinois State Fair. As a young doctor, I was especially interested in the Illinois Department of Public Health float, designed to bring awareness to important issues. A young couple in costume stood on the float and called out, "I'm Sam."
I'm Ella.
We're
Sam and Ella.
True story.
The next night was Pittsfield, and it was time for the BAMI Talent Show. Here is one of the more memorable acts. On the first day of BAMI, it rained and rained and rained, and rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. On the second day of BAMI, it rained and rained and rained, and rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. On the third day of BAMI,
It stopped. We passed the miles by trading stories and singing. I belted out all the Bruce Springsteen songs I knew. She knew the entire lyrics to Jesus Christ Superstar. We cycled past acres and acres of corn, and one twilight, we shared a kiss in a cornfield.
Day 6 was the longest and hottest, 80 miles. Around 3 p.m., as the sun threatened to roast us and melt our tires, we came upon a water park.
I was wearing triathlon shorts. Those are shorts with a thin chamois that allows you to quick change from biking and from swimming to biking. I had never done a triathlon, and I had never ridden on a water slide. This woman splashed ahead and egged me on.
Come on, Mr. Triathlon Shorts.
There was no turning back. The ride ended at Illinois State University, Edwardsville, with a celebratory late-night dance party. The next morning, we reluctantly loaded our bikes onto a semi-truck and boarded the bus back to Chicago.
On the bus ride back to the city, this guy says to me, "I'd like to see you when we get back to town, but there's something I have to tell you." He said he had been seeing someone and had been trying to figure out how to break up with her. The following week, we had our first date. This nice guy is now my husband and cycling companion of 40 years.
Over the years, we have shared many adventures and bike rides. I have since done a triathlon, but I'm still afraid of water slides.
So I came back after my week of vacation with some new dating advice for my single friends. Buy a bicycle, ride it every day.
Joyce and Dan, thank you so much for sharing your tale. And I will tell everybody, I have gone bike touring with Dan, and I get the attraction, Joyce. I really do. A couple of things. One, the taco truck is outside. Just letting you know. Two, this is your absolute last chance to get a raffle ticket if you don't have it, because Ben is about to start calling out names, and we're about to start giving stuff away. And finally, we are at Sketchbook. I mean, for crying out loud, go get some beer. Thank you all. And now, Ben Harris.
Can you hear me? Yeah! Is it better this way? Or should I use my quiet voice? Buzzkill. So I get the honor of closing it out. Here's the agenda. A few words of wisdom, then the raffle. If you haven't done the raffle, there's a guy that I want to make sure that gets a shout out. His name is Dan. Just clap. Dan has recently just submitted, the box is over here, just submitted a free tune-up. The only thing Charlie, John, myself, and David have in common, other than bicycles, is Dan. Dan's the man. You'll find out more about that. Shout out to Sketchbook. Amy, raise your hand. Sketchbook is the role model Skokie Bike Network wants to be. They've created a sense of community. They offer up their services, they offer up their facility to the community. We are trying to do the same. Skokie Bike Network is a community of cyclists and pedestrians that want to make the infrastructure safer, want to make it a safe place to ride. What does that mean? It means that we need to be advocates. You need to say something, do something, or write something. It makes a difference. There's a couple other village organizations, villages or towns organizations. Park Ridge is here, Niles is here. We've come together to make sure that we show up at town hall meetings, village meetings, to promote the ability to share the road. And if that means taking back some of the parkway, so be it. If that means taking down a tree to make it safer for a 5-year-old or a 55-year-old to get somewhere, so be it. We're kind of like a Venn diagram, a lot of intersecting circles. There's a lot of different groups here. If you're wearing a t-shirt, think about buying a Skokie Bike Network t-shirt. And Charlie, where does that money, once we become a 501c3? Good question. Once upon a time, we had the offer of accepting $250. Charlie goes, what are we going to do with it? We could have used it 3 or 4 years ago. Why do we do this? We want to educate you, we want you to enjoy, and we want you to engage in being a bicycle advocate. We can all do something. Now, there's also a Trek out there. It's kind of a beat-up Trek, but it has bar end shifters. It has my name on it. Whoever is the owner, talk to me. I like that bicycle. Again, shout-outs for Skokie, the village, we love them. Sketchbook, Burke Engineering, they've been a corporate sponsor. Jen's pop-up book, Jen's good stuff. I'm not going to say how much I spent today. The Arts Commission, Skokie Arts Commission, and my man Dan. Dan, just raise your hand. He's not coming up. He's just staying there. So, without further ado, we have a very technical way of doing the raffle. It's called a raffle randomizer. I come over. Actually, Eric, come on up. We're gonna make this really legitimate. The one that has my phone number on it. Oh wait, we got a bunch of stuff. The first one's gonna be the people that moved to Portugal, a brand new trainer. If you win it, come and get it. Winners must be present. Go for it. Ron Silverman, come on up. Eric, you're not done. We got maybe I want this. We're going to skip that. No. Eric, can you do another one, please? Don, make it happen. Oh, I forgot a oopsie. Soul Coffee, who's going to have their bricks and mortar store. Charlie, you remember their address?
No, I don't know. It's in Maine and Keystone.
Maine and Keystone.
Soul Good Coffee.
Soul Good Coffee. Give them a shout out. It's good, but there's something missing. It fell out in my van. What can I say? Pick. Matt Gold. Woo! And Matt, for $5, I'll buy it back from you. Enjoy. Just to let, no, I won't go there. This is an indoor bike stand put together. Some lady's like really eyeing it in the back with instructions. Yeah. Eric, keep your eyes closed. Mike Lee. Woo! Where's Mike? Got to be present to collect. You got 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.25. Rock on, Mike. We're going to leave this for safety reasons. No, well, can you take it?
Yeah, sure.
Don't hurt yourself. It's heavy.
I may need some help.
Okay. Dan, raise your... Oh, geez Louise. Keep on pulling, Eric.
Arlene Levin.
Arlene Levin. Woo! You got 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. One more before the grand prize.
Christopher Sample.
Christopher, you got 5 seconds. 1.
Chris Sample.
Come on. Come on, you can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's gone.
That's so many penny farthing.
Yeah. Also, you got to check out his pannier, his saddlebag. Really cool. Okay. Last but not least, a professional tune-up by Dan. How many people have had their bike serviced by Dan? Raise your hand. Dan also has the coolest address plate in Skokie. You got to check it out. Dan is a great mechanic. He knows what he's talking about, and he's donated a free tune-up. Can I pick? Oh, we're out. No. Ben Harris.
Bill Kaplan.
Bill Kaplan. Whoa! And I'm not going to say Phil's connected with the Active Transportation Alliance at all.
Working Bikes.
Working Bikes. Last but not least, I want to thank 3 individuals. Charlie, raise your hand. David. And John. And for those of you who want to say something, do something, or write something, the Skokie Bike Network Board of Directors, soon to be an official 501c3, needs your help. If you want to be on the board, if you want to volunteer for something, come see one of us and we'll hook you up. Oh, t-shirts. Why do we mention the t-shirts? Because they're for sale. We do Zelle, we do Venmo, and we do cash. Shop till you drop. Jen's book is going to be here for the next 45 minutes. Taco truck. And there's a special cyclist beverage. It's the Lemon Radler. Only 2.6% alcohol. You can have 3 of them and still ride home. Rock on.